good. Any minute now.
Can you tell us about your experiences and what you took out of DMT?
Well, I took it in the form of ayahuasca. I only took it twice in about 3 days in Brazil in 2003. I've not touched it since, and I don't feel the need to. But the experience I had was massive. And for me, what people say, it took me somewhere. I don't think it takes us anywhere. I think it takes us to where we already are. And if we're in a really deeply negative state, you can take this stuff and have a real, what they used to call in the 60s, a bad trip. Or if you're in another state, you can have a wonderful experience. My experience was just unforgettable. I mean, I had a voice, a woman's voice, which is, what is a woman's voice? Oh, it's just, it's a woman talking to you. No, it's a frequency. It is an information field of a certain frequency, and certain frequencies you decode as female and certain frequencies you decode as male. It's a consciousness that is communicating, and almost certainly it has to be, if we're all infinite awareness, it's an expression of your own consciousness, just a very much deeper level of it. And for 5 hours it talked to me about the illusory nature of reality, and I had instant recall of every word afterwards, which was amazing in itself. And I was taken to a place, I'm using human language here, taken to a place.
It's very hard to describe. Yeah.
And I tell you, it's a place that I experienced as beyond the realm of vibration. Because anything that vibrates, this is actually, funnily enough, Luke, this is one of the many really stunning lines that this voice communicated to me. Because when it started off, it said, we're going to take you to where you come from, so you will understand better where you are and where you're coming back to. And then it kept repeating, this is right at the start of this voice starting, 5 hours. Infinite love is the only truth, everything else is illusion. And when you study near-death experiences and all that stuff, when they go into these realms beyond the body, I have never come across anyone that wanted to come back, because they talk about this unbelievable bliss and love and all the rest of it. And anyway, I had this stunning line I was talking about at one point. It said, infinite love is the only truth, everything else is illusion. If it vibrates, it's illusion. Because the pure, infinite, all that is, all possibility, is still and silent. People think that things have to move to be something, and actually silence is all sound. It's all possibility waiting to manifest. So if I'm talking now, I have picked out of that infinite possibility of sound, I have picked out the words that I am talking. And when I stop, apart from the traffic, it's gone back into silence. Within the silence is everything. So I experience this as this silent stillness, as the infinite point of attention. And it took the form of this sounds really funny, but if you've experienced it, people know what I mean. I saw it as a shining blackness. Shining blackness. Now, years later, in fact, in the last 12 months, there was a doctor called Ibn Alexander, and he was, I think he's in New York, and he was a neurosurgeon. I think he still is. And he was one of these rigid kind of people. He admits it in his book. I was one of these rigid people that, obviously people would have near-death experiences when he was doing his surgery sometimes, and they'd tell him their stories. And as he said, I thought, oh, that's very interesting. A load of rubbish, but it's very interesting. And it was like mainstream. This is not possible. This world is all there is. And then he got it was a form of meningitis that was so bad that his brain shut down in every area apart from the most primitive level that was necessary to keep him alive. This man, in effect, died for 7 days. And this is the interesting point which he points out. when people talk about, and there's millions and millions of them now, when they talk about near-death experiences, the mainstream scientists, they go, oh, it's not impossible. Oh, please, God save us from science. And anyway, because what they're doing is they're just reliving their experiences from this part of the brain, and that's what's happening and all that stuff. Well, that part of the brain, in his case, completely shut down. It was inactive, so it ain't coming from there. And he came back. He should not have lived. That was a virtual impossibility for him to live. It was certainly almost absolutely impossible for him, if he did live, to be anything more than a vegetative state. And he came back after a transition period, completely normal, and went on with his life. And he wrote this book about it, which became a New York bestseller. Why I'm telling you this story, it's very interesting, I think, is because when he first left the body and had a near-death experience himself, he entered a realm. I talk about this in the new book that's coming out in the autumn. He went into a realm that was classically the realm of the demons and the what I would call the archons and the reptilian entities and all this stuff. In fact, he talks about seeing reptilian beings brushing against him and all that stuff. And then a light came down, and he was taken out, what he called through the gate, into this amazing, blissful place, and on and on and on, until, this is where I'm coming round to, he said he was taken to experience the ultimate, the source. And you know what he calls it? The dazzling darkness. Exactly what I experienced. And the dazzling darkness is mesmerizing, because it is all that is, has been, and ever can be. And then we pull that all potential, all possibility, all potential into worlds of certain expressions of that potential, and this is one of them. And so that experience with the ayahuasca, DMT, was massively important for me, because what I did then, you know, what I do when I research, I don't just take one thing and then say, well, that's all right then. I came back to England and I looked at the mainstream science in all the different areas to see if I could confirm that what was being said was true. Everything checked out, the whole bloody thing. And once you've got this point where you realize it's an illusion, you can still interact with the illusion and live in the illusion, but you know it's an illusion, and illusions only control you when you think they're real. This is why it's important to understand the nature of what we're in, because if we think this is solid and all the rest of it, what does solid say immediately? Limitation, can't be done. And yet it's just a holographic projection of infinite possibility, which is totally malleable and can be changed any time.